Hi, rulers. I'm Nikki Mack here, and I want to welcome you to this first episode of the Living by the Rule podcast, where we will explore spirituality. And did you hear echo?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Hi, rulers. I'm Nikki Mack, and I'd like to welcome you to the Living by the Rule podcast, where we hope to encourage you to become rulers of your life. You have the power to control your thoughts, your actions, your words, and your reactions to other people. And so we will be exploring ways to help you build that up. So, on this first episode, I guess I will start by telling you a little bit about me. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised, one of the rare Atlanta natives. We are known for our traffic and hip hop, and I love it because it is a beautiful city that is rich in diversity and the ability to have lots of wonderful experiences. And we have great weather. So, just saying, don't come because we have lots of people, hence the traffic. Um, so, my family stats, I am married and I have three daughters and two stepkids. So, all mostly adults. We have one 16-year-old that's still at home and a 25-year-old who's bunking with us for a little while, but we'll talk about that another day. um, and yeah, I've just extremely have had a professional career for the past 25 years and am very passionate about the golden rule, and which is, as you know, love thy neighbor as thyself, and hence that is where we came with living by the rule. So when I graduated from high school, I actually wanted to be a obstetrician gynecologist, believe it or not. And then I just didn't. I decided I didn't want to go to med school.
I hear that.
Yeah, it was a very, very roundabout, temporary desire. I don't know why, but anyways, very short-lived desire. And again, as I said, I've had a very long career in technology, and I'm actually kind of glad that I did not choose the obstetrician gynecologist path. So, anyways, enough about me. So I am joined by my friend, Athea Long. She is going to serve as my clinical consultant because I will tell you all the time I'm not a life coach. Uh, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a pastor or any of those things. Really, just someone who's very passionate about people. So, Athea is going to be the professional, as she is a licensed clinical social worker, and she is going to help guide some of these conversations and just make sure that I'm not straying into dangerous, traumatic territory for people. So,
Keep me in the clinically appropriate lane.
yeah, she's keeping me in my lane because I have a tendency to veer off. So you will come to find that, which is great. But Ithea is my friend, and definitely appreciate her being here. So Ithea, you want to tell us a little bit about you? So who are you?
Oh my gosh, who am I? Whoa, well, I am originally from Pittsburgh. So I was born and raised there. And Pittsburgh is, famous for several things. I mean, one obviously being steel. It's a big blue collar town, which although in the last probably 15 to 20 years that has shifted greatly. But definitely like steel working town. We're known for obviously football, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like internationally famous. Believe it or not, pierogies.
Hmm.
home of Heinz ketchup, right? Uh, I- So I'm pretty partial to Heinz ketchup. I'm a ketchup snob. Um, but I actually left Pittsburgh when I was 26. I'm not going to tell you how old I am right now. Maybe later. But I have been living in New York for almost the last 20 something years. Maybe not quite that many years. Um, because at the time that I was living in Pittsburgh and grew up in Pittsburgh, it was actually pretty segregated. And someone like myself, being a multiracial individual in the 80s and the 90s, that wasn't very common. And so I got a lot of sort of like, what are you? Literally, people would say, are you mulatto? Right? Can't, it's not really something you're supposed to be
I was
saying.
gonna say, do people still use that word? Like, really?
Well,
Like,
in the 80s and 90s, people were definitely in Pittsburgh.
yeah.
Uh, so I moved to New York, and literally, as soon as I moved to New York, I had this like feeling of like not just relief, but like, I don't know, calm and peace wash over me because I was like, oh my God, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I have been living a very blessed life here in New York for like almost 20 years now. And so I can, let me see, then my family stats, right?
Yep.
So I'm married and I have two kids. I have babies, so I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. Both my babies, especially my son, he's 4. It's a COVID baby. So that was a really interesting experience that has, in so many ways, I mean, yes, having a kid, but like COVID changed my life in so many wonderful ways. Yeah. Um, so uh, that, I mean, that's my immediate family, and I obviously I'm really big into family. So like my parents and my siblings are a big part of my life, and my friends. Yeah, so that's sort of my family, and then what is it? My
What do you want to
career.
do when you graduated high school?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I wanted to like help people. I actually thought when I finished high school, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist because in my senior year of high school, I took an intro to psychology class, and I just was so fascinated with that. Um, and so then when I went off to college, I my freshman year, I took some classes, and one of them was a career development class because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to be, but I knew that I was going to be doing something that was like understanding people because I was just super fascinated by that class I took in high school. And so I took this career development class, and you had to take like all these personality tests, and it like gave you this readout of like, these are the jobs that are best suited for you. And it was like detective, um, therapist, doctor, right? So all these professions that were very much like in the world in the lens of helping people. And it wasn't actually until I ended up getting a bachelor's in psychology, but it wasn't until I had my first job out of college where I worked in a psychiatric hospital, and I just, what was happening in the hospital and the things that I was seeing with these young kids, I was like, oh my God, I need to do more. And then I had a really wonderful professor who I worked with in college, and through some like mentoring with him, I landed on becoming a social worker and going back and getting my master's. And it was the best thing I have, probably one of the best things I've ever done, especially for my career. And so um, I think when I was little, I wanted to be like a pediatrician.
Mhm.
I loved kids and I really wanted to help kids. And then just like you, I was like, oh, I'm definitely not going to med school. I was like, that is not happening. I was like, I was like, I'm glad I made it through grad school. And I really did enjoy grad school, but the idea of like going to med school, I was like, oh no, thank you. Um, but yeah, so I feel really blessed to have had the career that I've had and done the things that I've done. And so, yeah, every day, my work does not feel like work. It feels like something that comes so naturally to me. And so I'm really grateful that Nikki, that our paths crossed. And as Nikki said, yes, we're friends. And just sort of the collaboration and the vision and like minds. And so I'm really excited to be here and be a part of what you're doing. So
Yeah,
thanks
so
for listening.
it's funny that you talk about being biracial. So my mom, my stepdad was white back, and they got married when I was like 12, and I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was, but it was a long time. So I never got the what are you? Like I didn't get that piece. I think I always just kind of felt a little uncomfortable. It was always like I felt like people were watching us.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was a lot of pressure. Like I got, I'm from Atlanta. Don't really talk like I'm from Atlanta. Like my mom worked really, really hard to make sure
I'm sure you
that
did
I
not.
didn't have that Southern twang that Atlanta people are known for. And yeah, so I got teased a lot when I was coming up. And so it's like, you always feel like you're a little bit weird, like you talk different. And then
Mhm.
layer on top of that, the fact that my mom is like an artist, free spirit, it's like she
And that
tried.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, she tried a lot of different things, which was, again, as a little kid, it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around it. You really just want to, I think most little kids just kind of want to fit in. And so if
Hmm.
you're in a situation where you're not fitting in, quite obviously, um, there's some trauma that comes along with that, I think. And the bottom line is everybody has trauma. It's like
Yeah.
your own special, whatever your special blend is. And so yeah, I've been, as I said, probably one of the best things that happened to me with me coming to work for the company that I work for and have worked for the past 25 years is the fact that they had amazing health benefits. And so I started my therapy journey at probably about a year into my working there. And it's completely transformed my life. And so I just want to do what I can to try and help other people understand, number one, you're not alone.
Sure.
Everybody's going through their stuff. And then number two, just that, you know, that special blend is given to you for a reason, so
Sure.
that you can learn to kind of overcome. And so yeah, so I'm very excited about going through this journey with you, or this next leg of the journey. 'Cause, like I say, I've been on the path for
We've been on our journeys for a while.
a
Our
long time.
our paths have crossed, and now we're embarking on a journey together.
Yes, yes, a journey to help people. I think that's the one thing that kind of it binds us together, right? Is just this
Oh yeah.
desire to help people, and to give them to give them hope. Like that's really what I want to do. So we're recording this now. It's first of the year. People are doing their New Year, thinking about your New Year's resolution and all the things that you want to try to do. 2025, there's a lot of uncertainty that's going on with, our incoming administration. There's still people that are dealing with, um, you know, feelings after the last election. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much, so many layers to life today. So, like, as people start to think about setting resolutions, like, is that even like is that a good idea? Like,
Um, in many cases, it's not actually because unless you're unless you're really, really aware of yourself. We tend to set unrealistic resolutions. Um, and then that ultimately just leads to disappointment because we tend to actually not follow through on those things. Right. And, it's the idea of like, oh, it's a new year. So, I want to be an opportunity, another year to be a new you. I think we should really be shifting our thinking and shifting the way we look at something like that. And we should really be looking at like, hey, this it's not a new me. It's the same me, right? It's the same me from last year. I have done some things, I've experienced some things. Maybe some of those things I've learned new lessons from and I've grown some, but it's still me. And what we should be focusing on is being a healthier version of who we are. And so taking instead of like setting a New Year's resolution, maybe it's more about like, hey, there's a skill I want to develop, or I want to spend more time kind of like understanding me and learning about me so that I can really start to love me, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because, you know, as human beings, we're all flawed, right? And so some of these flaws are what make us so beautiful. And instead of sort of trying to get rid of them or change them, sometimes we have to learn how to live with them and accept them, or understand them. And that has nothing to do with being a new you, right? It's really about a healthier you. And
Yeah,
then
I think I have been, I would say, so I said earlier, I have 3 daughters. I didn't actually get married until for the first time until a few years ago. Still not gonna tell that age. I was a mature bride, as they say. And after my youngest daughter's dad and our relationship, and it was like 10 years of just mental, just like I can't even put it into words how bad it was. But when I finally got to the point where I was just like, okay, enough is enough. I'm done. I decided I was going to take a year off and just spend some time getting to know me again.
yeah,
And it took time. I mean, it really did take a lot of time for me to just like go through and kind of think through all of the things that had happened. And a lot of times we tend to lose ourselves in the relationships. Like, I
hmm,
wanted so bad for it to be the way that it was in the very beginning, and it was like I got stuck on that. And even though things went crazy sideways right after the first 9 months. It's
yeah,
like we're still holding on to like, but one day we'll get back to the first 6 months when it was amazing. And if I just changed a little bit here and a little bit there, and then by the time you've like changed a little here and there, by the time you've done that for 10 years, like you don't even recognize who you are anymore. And so a really big part of me doing this, right, was getting to that point of being comfortable with being comfortable with who I am, and
hmm,
loving, like, I love me.
yeah. I mean, I have like, I mean, look, we all have our stories and the experiences that we've had, right? And if we're insightful, then we take these experiences and these stories and we learn from them and we learn more about who we are. And so I had, I could say, like, in some sense, I was very lucky. I had an early, like, first love, high school love, infatuated, like, all consuming kind of love. That was actually really, really toxic and really, really not okay. But when you're 17 and you don't really know that, that's not where your mind is, or even have the understanding or insight to even see that. Um, but when I was finally able to sort of pull myself out of that, that was actually when I made the decision to move to New York. That was like one of the reasons why I left, because I was like, oh my God, I need to like close this chapter of my life, and I need to be able to have space to actually figure out who I am. And I feel really lucky because I was like 25, 26 when I embarked on that journey and left and moved to New York. And I literally, I don't know, spent the next like 7 years just focused on me and my career and doing the things I wanted to do. And so I feel really blessed that I had the ability to do that, but a lot of people don't. And
Yeah.
so in the work that I do, I mean, I work with so many people across all walks of life. Um, and so something that is very, very real is, if you don't take time to sort of what we call self-care, self-preservation, right? If you don't actually take time to focus on you, then wherever you are, whoever you're in relationships with, and I don't even mean like intimate relationships, could be like the relationship you have, if you're a parent, or with your siblings, or with friends, right? If you don't take time to focus on you, you will not only could you lose yourself, but you also just might not even know who you are. Um, and that, that I think that is part of the journey of life, right? Like, to discover who you are and realize that, hey, who you are at 20 is not who you're going to be at 30 or 40 or 50, right? Because things happen, we change, we go through metamorphoses and experiences that change us, that shape the way we see the world, modifies that, right? And so the thing that I love about like the journey of life, right? Or this thing, this is your concept of living by the rule, right? It's sort of like, hey, you know, pay attention to you, understand you, get to know you, spend time with you so you can figure out, who you want to be and how you want to function.
Yeah, a big part. I mean, when I say living by the rules, like everyone's like, "Well, what's the rule?" It's basically the golden rule, right? Which is it comes in many different forms. So you could say, love thy neighbor as thyself. Treat other people how you want to be treated. Don't do
Mhm.
to other people what you wouldn't have done to you. It's like, and it's a universal, excuse me, a universal principle that's found across all types of spirituality. And it really is kind of the basis of learning to live and be someone who is compassionate and empathetic. But the thing that I've found is that you can't really love thy neighbor until you learn to love yourself, because you're always going to see things through the filter of the hurt, pain, trauma that you've experienced in your life. And until you kind of come to terms with that and, feel the feelings, as they say, feel it, and heal it, then you really aren't going to be able to. I mean, it will be more difficult, right, for you to live by the golden rule. And so that really is a big part of why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I feel like, if you look at the scope of, or the span of human evolution to where we are today, from where we were when we first started, we technology and intelligence and just population, right? Has, like, we have the things that we need. We're not out there hunting for meat and
I mean,
even
people
now
are,
with Whole Foods.
people are, but that's by choice, not by necessity, right?
Right. Yes, there are people that hunt, and hey, if that's your thing, knock yourself out. Me, I'm just going to the Whole Foods, or wherever, to the Publix. So you're now that we are not. It seems as though now that we are not having to focus so much on survival, it's like now it's time to kind of explore a lot of the inner healing, the inner stuff that is keeping us from being able to relate to the people around us. And there's been just, lifetimes, century, just eons of trauma that people have experienced. And so if we keep going on the path that we're going, just with things being so, divisive and people, not knowing how to respectfully express their views, that if we don't figure out how to live more compassionately, then, we're not going to survive. There'll be a few maybe that will still like get to do
Yeah.
this thing, but each person has to kind of own that individually, I think. And so that really is why, really the other reason why I want to do this and have these conversations and put out there what I can, just to try and help people. So I know it's a lofty goal.
I think it's a beautiful goal, and I think, right, just it's this idea of like sometimes it's really hard to have space for something like compassion because people are afraid. And so you said that that we're in a world now where we don't have to survive, but I think many people don't first of all don't understand what that means. But I think for many people, I think the world is a space where they're still trying to survive, and so it's really hard. Like I would say it's beautiful. Like I am not in a space where I am surviving. I am definitely living, right? And it sounds like you have come to the space of being able to live. And I think what is wonderful is that, there's this space and this opportunity to sort of help people understand that, like, hey, we don't have to just be surviving. We can be living. But I don't think many people understand what that means or what that looks like. And so, um, I'd say that what you're trying to do is kind of help people figure that out and show them what that looks like. And I'm all for that. And that's why I signed up and was like, yeah, I'm all in.
It's like pulling her along. Come on, Athea, you want to come and use this?
Yeah. I mean, like, I've honestly, I've been doing this work a really long time. I mean, whether it's coaching, therapy, advocating, just really, case management work at its core, like really helping people. What I've been doing for the past 20 years is helping people navigate life, right? Helping them navigate their lives, helping them understand how to navigate their life, or dealing with the stresses and the traumas that come. And so technology being what it is, the world changing the way it has, right? This is a really wonderful way to get out a message, to really kind of just what you said in the beginning is sort of help people understand, like, you're not alone. Um, and that all these things that you are dealing with, this pain, this hurt, the fear, the worry, right? Like we all are having that in different ways, of course, but it's honestly our emotions that connect us, right? We all feel the feels. but how in tune and aware and open are we to accepting those feels? And that's where we can start to shift from surviving to living.
All right. So 2025, starting off 2025, our 2025 journey, we're gonna kick it off with just a little self-acceptance. Just
Yeah.
get comfortable with you.
Yeah. Learn to be comfortable with yourself. And as I say, as you know, I say all the time, become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's okay to not be okay.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Well, all right, Athea. Well, thank you so much. I am looking forward to many more conversations with you as we go through this year. Again, I'm very excited. I'm a little apprehensive about like later in January what that's going to look like, but that's okay. We're not going to not going to let that fear rule me.
No, and let's just be so excited that, like, hey, we did this right now.
We did this right now. We've been talking about this for some time. So we did this right now. We did this thing.
We did. And that's awesome.
All right.
And
Well, then, rulers, again, be a ruler. You can you rule your life. It's like you control your thoughts, your actions, your words, your reactions to the people around you. And so I want to encourage all of you to rule them all. And look forward to talking to you again soon. So send us your questions and send us your comments. Be nice. Thank you.
take care, everyone.